Good evening, everybody. Happy to be back on the air here. This is David Anderson. I'm joined by Ryan Thompson. We are here for the Wednesday night Champion Motorsports iRacing GT3 Sprint Series brought to you by simrace247.com. And Ryan, I'm excited about tonight. A new track that we haven't been at before, and excited to be here. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. This is going to be an interesting one. It's not a track that we've seen a whole lot of so far. I think we've only run it once in this Wednesday night chapter, but it's got lots to offer.
Yeah, it really does. And, it's one of the newer tracks on iRacing. Probably has been with the service 12 to 18 months now at most. Such an amazing circuit. So we come to you virtually from Bulgaria, I believe, where the Hungaroring, just amazing facility. Formula One comes here, of course. Fun track once you kind of get to learn it and get into the rhythm. And it's going to be crowded out here tonight, though, Ryan, with full field of looks like we'll have 39 GT3s. Some guys probably trying to, or maybe even racing here for the first time.
Yeah, I've been hearing some rumblings in practice of people trying to learn the track, so I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So the guys are getting ready to go out for qualifying now. We'll let them get out and get started and see kind of what they're doing. We see a couple of cars starting to roll off now. This is Richard Hibbs coming out. So, thought what we do here is for anybody tuning in this evening, and Ryan and I will of course do our best to engage with anybody on Twitch that's out there. But just give you a little bit of a preview of what to expect tonight while the guys are getting out doing their out laps. We've got two classes, of course, our pro and our amateur category. As usual, this is race 2 of the 2023, season 2, if you will, for CMS here. And came off of a really fun race last week to open the season at Sebring. We saw Christian Youngwall take the overall win. Really close battle with DJ Alessandrini and Victor Tanaka in the pro class. And then we saw a really amazing performance out of Scott Kennedy in the AM class. Took the win there and had a very high finish overall. He was followed by Joshua Burke and Zachary Sternhagen. So those are some of the guys to watch here initially tonight, Ryan. And I know there'll be others to keep our eyes on too. But anybody stand out to you that you're eager to see what they can do coming off Sebring?
Well, coming off of Sebring, yeah, like you said, there were some interesting ones to watch. One that I always like to see what he can do is going to be our Miguel.
Yes, Miguel Colon. Yeah, Miguel. He had a tough race last week at Sebring, which, if you recall, was the same situation from last year at Spa in the season, or last season at Spa in the season opener. He had a really rough race, and then almost a repeat of that, Ryan, where he did a recovery drive at Spa. He did another one at Sebring. I want to say he worked his way back into the top 20. And then ended up competing for the championship. So we'll have to see if he can. He's good at digging a hole for himself. That's for sure.
One of the only guys that can dig himself out of a hole, in fact.
Absolutely.
And I think that he finished. I forget exactly what position, but I think it was around 22nd, 23rd, and that was the exact same as race 1 of last season.
That is crazy. We're on board with him right now, by the way. Another thing to point out with Miguel is a new car for him this season. He has moved from the BMW, which we've come to expect him in, to the Mercedes. So he's moved into a new car. We've also seen Michael Parker and a few other guys do that. So it'll be interesting to see if he can repeat what he did last year. Or last season. I keep saying year, but I want to say after that challenge at Spa that he may have come back and won the second race, or at minimum was on the podium.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, maybe we can. Yeah,
here.
Maybe we can find that as we go through the night. But he definitely, we know for sure, had a strong run because he ended up winning several races in the season and and that included several wins. And I am looking here. It looks like right now he is 14th in points coming into the night. So he's dug a little bit of a hole for himself. He is about 27 points behind Christian Youngwall right now, the winner from last week. Christian is here tonight, so he won't be able to gain anything that way. He'll, from Christian not being present, so he'll have to get it done on the track. Love watching him ride around here in the car too, in the cockpit. It's great to see this circuit, that I know I'm personally still familiarizing myself with, but it flows well and very technical at the same time.
Yes, definitely. Talking about car changes, Stephen Yanni has switched to the Audi starting from this race.
Okay. And I
So
believe
he's given up all of his championship points to date, which was only race 1.
Okay, so, and is that, I believe, looking at my sheet here, Steven has a penalty to serve. Is that because of the car change or for some other reason altogether?
No, that was for the turn 1 incident that we saw last week.
Okay, so Steven is going to kind of hit reset, it sounds like here. He'll have to come in, take a drive-through, I believe, or is it a stop-and-go penalty, Ryan? Not sure if you know off the top of your head, but...
Stop and hold 5.
So he'll have to start from the rear. Steven using this as an opportunity to change cars. Driver that we saw win the AM Championship last year, and has now moved up to the pro category this season. So it'll be interesting to follow that, see how he's able to do. So here comes Miguel. We're watching him come to the start-finish line here now. I believe this will be his second flying lap that he's going to start. So we'll take a ride. Actually, it looks like he's just finished his laps. So Miguel currently in 4th position overall, and right at the same time that he finishes, Christian Youngwall picks up right where he left off on the pole. So that's kind of where we stand right now. We've got some of the usual suspects up front: Christian Youngwall, Victor Tanaka, Michael Parker. Still some other cars that are out turning laps right now as well. Here's Rafael Sosa on the track, currently in 20th position. And looking to get in a hot lap here. Rafael's another driver that I don't know if he was here last week, Ryan, or if he was, we didn't get the opportunity to talk to him. But he just about won a race we saw last season at Red Bull Ring in race 2. So maybe he can, have a similar second race this year than he did, as he did last season when we went to race 2.
Yeah, he was with us last race. I don't think we got a chance to focus on him, though.
Yeah, so he's still out here trying to get a lap in, riding along in his neon green BMW. Enjoyed watching him last season at Red Bull Ring in the race number 2, and hopefully if he can give us anything like he did last season in the second race, it will be a heck of a show, because he just about chased down Miguel Colon. And now that we say that, I remember that it was Miguel Colon who did take the win at Red Bull Ring and narrowly held off Rafael. So Rafael moving up to 14th place overall. Looks like a few other drivers. David Slee, I can't tell if he's coming. I think he's coming into the pits after a hot lap. Here's JT Tammy, still out on the track. This definitely looks like he's out on a flyer. JT currently in 20th position.
We got a hello from Dog Bear Racing, Wesley, in the Twitch chat. Right back at you, Wesley. Says he's looking forward to a great race and some great commentary from Team Dog Bear.
Awesome. Yeah, glad to have Wesley out there, and anyone else. Make sure I can get into the chat here as well so I can follow along. Yeah, so tonight's race will be 60 minutes. Last week we started the season off with 75 minutes. This week will be 60, so that's the common length, if you will. Some of our races tend to be the 75-minute category, but they're either one or the other of those two lengths. JT here, who we're riding along with now, one of the last cars still out on the track, currently setting in 21st position qualifying. See if he can move up here. About a little over a minute left in qualifying. Looks like he will move up to the 14th position, so really solid run for JT. So let's use this as an opportunity to kind of look down the field. So we'll go through the top 10 qualifiers. Christian Youngwall, looks like unless something changes last minute here, will be on the pole. Victor Tanaka on the outside of front row 1. Michael Parker will start in 3rd place, the defending champion. Miguel Colon in 4th place. And I believe that is the same situation as last week, where Michael and Miguel were both on the 2nd row, and they had a bit of an incident. So be interesting to see how they fare this week. Paul Darling in 5th, Chris Hudson with a phenomenal qualifying in 6th, James Gong in 7th, Richard McClure in 8th. Our AM winner from last week, Scott Kennedy, is in 9th, and he is the highest of the AM qualifiers, and Drew Lidke in 10th. We'll have a 39-car grid here, and Ryan, I'm pumped about this one. I'm excited for this race.
Oh yeah, 39 is a very healthy grid size for this shorter track. We got a tight turn 1. Hopefully, it won't be too exciting.
Right. We don't want it to be too exciting. We want it to be exciting, but not too exciting, or exciting for all the right reasons, right?
There you go.
So cars just about to line up on the grid, and we'll get out here with them. So yeah, a lot of, pretty much a repeat from last week. The same guys that were up front last week in both categories, Pro and Am, are back up there again. So we're seeing a little bit of consistency. Drivers are just wrapping up a few driver meeting notes, final minutes of that. We do have a little bit smaller field this week. I think last week at Sebring we set, or we're close to a record for CMS with 58 drivers, and this week we have 39. And that was to be expected. This is a track that maybe not everybody owns or has the opportunity to own yet, and that's okay. We're still going to have a very healthy field, and excited to bring this one to you here this evening. Everybody getting out here now. We've got the grid, you can see. Want to give a shout out to a couple of additional drivers that we did not talk about just in the AM category, since that's a race within the race. We did talk about Scott Kennedy, Ryan, who will start in 9th place, and Joshua Burke is in 13th position, is the 2nd highest qualifier in AM, and I believe he was the 2nd place finisher from last week's race at Sebring. And
that's right.
Yep. And then we'll have Jeffrey Adams in 3rd. So Jeffrey Adams back in 18th place in 3rd. David Slee will start in 4th place in AM, in 20th position on the grid. And then rounding out the top 5 in the AM category will be Tim Collier, starting in 22nd position overall. We did have a few drivers not take a lap in the qualifying session and elected for whatever reason to either start from the rear. And as we mentioned, we have one driver, Stephen Yanni, who will be coming in for a stop and hold 5 due to a steward's decision on a penalty. And we do have another driver, Tim Collier, who received a warning from last week's race, but he will not need to make a trip to the pits. So that's kind of what we've got as a setup. And looks like we're going to get going here really quickly, Ryan, because they are rolling off now. And we'll see which one of these hot shots can make it down into turn 1. I kind of like Victor Tanaka's position on the inside here. So let's see if he can beat Christian Youngwall down to 1.
Going green right about now.
Clean start. Miguel Colon looking on the outside of Christian Youngwall. Going to put some pressure on him. Michael Parker on the inside. Great move by Victor Tanaka to get in there and protect that. And it looks like we'll sort out with Tanaka, Youngwall, Parker, and Colon nearly side by side. And Paul Darling just behind them, and as well as Chris Hudson. So fairly orderly on the start. Not seeing a bunch of issues in the rear either, which is good. Oh, I do see an issue now. It looks like JT Tammy may be around back there. We'll go back to that in just a second.
Okay. Yep.
Let's go back to that now. Here it is, Ryan. He just loses it on his own, I think, here. Yep, he sure does. Hits the rumble strip around, and the entire field gets by him here.
Oh, wow.
Wow, great job on his part of just sticking the 2 feet into the floor there. That's a professional move. Mistake on his part, lets the entire field go around, and I don't think he hit anything there.
Didn't look like it. Great little flick spin there.
Yep, Youngwall has gotten out front again. Now, Ryan, this is what we saw last week. He got out front and never looked back. Never looked back.
Yeah, the challenge will be for these guys to stick with him.
Right.
But he's already pulling a gap.
He is. You know, I think we kind of felt like maybe Victor Tanaka might have had a little bit more raw pace last week, but he just didn't have the track position that Christian had. And it's one thing to be a little bit faster. It's another thing to be able to actually make the move when these cars are so equal. Right now, we're Christian Youngwall, Victor Tanaka, Miguel Colon has moved up to 3rd place, Michael Parker 4th, and 5th place, Chris Hudson, Paul Darling. Looks like we've had another issue here, Ryan. I see an issue. It's our buddy Rafael Sosa off the track. Let's see what happens here. He just loses it on his. Oh, now that's going to be. He's going to have to come in for a fast repair.
Yeah.
So maybe we talked about him too much and we jinxed him a little bit there. But he is. He's going to have a tall order if he's going to get back into that podium position. We ride along here now with Scott Kennedy. Our winner last week in the AM class. Scott had a hell of a drive last week. Let's ride on board with him. He's chasing James Gong, and Scott currently our highest AM driver. However, Joshua Burke started about 3 or 4 positions behind him on the grid tonight, and Joshua now only has 1 car, Drew Lidke, between the two of them. He's moved up into 10th position overall, so Joshua lurking, if you will.
All in all, the start has been very clean.
Very, very, very clean. We'll ride on down here into turn 1. Looks like we've got another Richard Hibbs fan with us again. I'd love to know who that is. Is that Richard? Is it a family member? Is it is it a teammate, a sponsor, a wife? Tell us who you are out there. We'll definitely give you a view of Richard here for being here and supporting us. We'll ride here a little bit more with Scott Kennedy, and then we'll go see what Richard's doing. He's off to a good start. In fact, here's Richard Hibbs now, and in the time that it took me to mention him, he's moved up 2 spots. And unfortunately, Ryan, the reason for others that Richard here has now moved up to 12th position is because we've had an issue with Richard McClure and Kevin Ayers. Here it is. Oh, that's not good. It looked like maybe Richard McClure was around. Kevin Ayers came up on him, had nowhere to go. And let's go watch. Let's watch. Here's Kevin. Let's watch from his view. Actually, it was not Kevin that took the major damage there. There was someone else who lost a splitter and all of that, a front splitter. As I say that, it looks like Rafael Sosa may have had an issue. Again, this may be the second issue he's had. Boy, it's gone from bad to worse him. That may be an ender for Rafael. Because that's 2 fairly significant issues.
Oh, and the rejoin there.
Yeah, the rejoin there was pretty ugly. So Rafael is definitely off his game tonight, and we won't draw any more attention to it as he has some trouble. We've all had one of those nights. Meanwhile, up front here, you can see, Ryan, we have pressure in the biggest of ways being applied by your friend Miguel Colon. He's going to go for the move down here, or he's at least going to show it to him, to Victor Tanaka going into 1. This is for 3rd position, or 2nd position.
Miguel knows how to dial that pressure up and keep it at 11 for as long as it takes.
He sure does. It looks like he's going to go for it right here. Boy, they're side by side. He is all over him.
Victor having none of it.
Yeah. You won't find he's flashing and the whole 9 yards. Victor's not going to pay any attention to that. Victor is definitely, if there's a driver who's bold and a little bit brash, and confident, if you will, is maybe the better word, it's Victor. And he's not going to be ruffled by that. He only knows how to go one pace, and it's 100%.
Yeah.
But I think Miguel, he appears to me here, Ryan, to be faster. But, yeah, I mean, here we go again, right? While this is going on, Christian Youngwall, who you can see ahead, is stretched out to a 1.2-second lead.
Yeah, once that gap gets up to the 2 to 3 second range, it may as well be 10 minutes, unless he makes a mistake.
Right, and we found that these drivers up front, the top 5, 6, 7 drivers every week are so fast that they get to battling each other. If one of them is out front, it really is advantage to that driver with kind of the free track, the clear air. Miguel, I think, is going to have him here, Ryan, going down into 1. He's side by side. He's got the position. I think Victor's going to have to give it up here.
Victor will have the inside after 1, though.
Yeah, he's going to look back here. Great race here.
Yeah, no, he got it.
Miguel was able to make it work. Here they are from behind as we chase them around with our drone. So Miguel now will set his sights on Christian Youngwall. We'll have to give it a lap or two to see if he can cut into that lead. Youngwall now with about a 1.5-second lead. While that's been happening, I think we've unfortunately had another issue on the track. It looks like Paul Castillo, and here's Paul. Paul had some sort of an issue. Looks like a spin of his own. Hopefully he doesn't hit anything or get hit here. I don't think he did. Does a good job. That's the way you do a rejoin. The way we saw he and JT Tammy do it. Take your lumps, right? But as I say that, it looks like we've got maybe another issue with David Slee. Here's David Slee, one of your teammates, Ryan.
Yeah.
And David loses. We're just seeing guys it doesn't hit anything. What's the deal here? Why are these guys? Is it new track? Are they running the wrong setup?
I don't know. The track is warm, but not hot and slick. Oh, actually, as I say that, the track has heated up about 10 degrees Celsius in the last 20 minutes.
Okay, so yeah.
So we're dealing with a pretty hot track right now, just about probably 115 Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm showing for those dumb Americans like me, that's 109 degrees Fahrenheit that we're dealing with here right now. So it's probably treacherous, if you will, in that type of temperature.
And a lot of the spins we've been seeing is somebody who's just a little bit off the racing line, maybe get under the marbles a little bit.
Right.
Going side by side with somebody or just get pushed offline a little bit.
Yeah. Combination of a few things. I think it's the track conditions, certainly. It's a new track for a lot of people. It's a very different surface, much newer, smoother than what these drivers saw last week at Sebring, so there could be just sort of adapting to feeling the limit, if you will. We talked about a driver earlier in qualifying. That was Stephen Yanni here, Ryan, and want to ride along here with Stephen. he is moved up already to 29th position. This is him in the Ferrari, the blue, white, and blue, silver, and black Ferrari. Steven already up about 10 or 11 positions from where he ended up basically being shotgun on the field, having to take that penalty early. So, pretty good start for him, all things considered.
Yeah, he's done well.
Yeah, he has. That's JT Tammy just ahead of him. We saw JT with the issue earlier, dropped him back to 27th position. It's quite busy back here. A lot of different times on the track right now. We're seeing everything from 46s up front back into 50s and 51s kind of in the rear. So there's a wide spread of times. And Miguel Colon, I am noticing on the timing here, he has cut into that gap. He was about 0.3 faster than Christian Youngwall last lap, Ryan.
Well, he's got the pace then.
Yeah, he sure does. And it's Mercedes for Mercedes, so these guys are in equal equipment. Mercedes seems popular, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I would have to look, but I would probably put it about third overall in terms of the number of entrants.
Yeah. One of the newer cars. I have not driven the GT3 version of it yet. I own it, but I haven't driven it. I have driven the GT4. We have a team here at CMS, the CMS Platinum team, that runs in the Creventech Endurance Series on iRacing, and we chose the GT4 Mercedes as our weapon this season. I really enjoyed driving it, so need to give the GT3 a try soon. It definitely seems like it is going to be a popular car.
It looks, well, in the hands of these drivers, it looks very capable and stable, and like you can really push with it.
Yeah, he's got the gap now under a second. So it was about 1.6 when he got around Tanaka, and now he's got it to right about a second actually, and the other three have kind of fallen back. So let's go down the field and do that right now. We've talked about Christian and Miguel, who you can see racing here. Here's third place just behind them. That's Victor Tanaka. He's being chased by Michael Parker in fourth position in the Audi. Paul Darling in fifth in the Ferrari. So that's our top five right now, all in the pro class. Chris Hudson in sixth. That's not much of a change from where these guys qualified. There's been a little bit of movement. Miguel Colon has been the one mainly on the move. James Gong in seventh place. James having another really strong run. I'm going to skip a driver. We'll come back to that in a minute. That's Scott Kennedy, who's in eighth. But Drew Lidke back a little bit further. So you have to go back another 7-8 seconds to get into kind of group two of the pro drivers with Drew Lidke and then John Majorbanks here in this battle. So that's kind of what's going on in the pro class right now. In the AM class, we've got Scott Kennedy, last week's winner, coming around to start what will be his 10th lap. Looking very, very strong. And behind him, only by about 2 seconds on the same straightaway, is Joshua Burke here in the orange car. So Joshua is in 10th position overall, about 2 seconds back of Scott. Running very similar lap times in the AM category. Go back a little bit further is Jeffrey Adams, about 7-8 seconds behind these guys in third place. Tim Collier having one of his better runs, Ryan, in fourth. So this is Tim in fourth position. Tim's had some bad luck, and for him to be in fourth position tonight, he's got to be feeling better about that.
Yeah, he's had a rough run but he's looking really good tonight.
Yeah, he's had a hard time just finishing races, right? And then just behind him, 3 or 4 seconds, is Christian Rava in the 5th position. So let's take a little ride along with Tim from his roll bar here. Watch him come through. I believe he's going to be going into Sector 3 here soon.
This turn 13 is so tight.
Yeah, you can see Tim fighting the car a little bit there. We're going to watch him finish this lap, and then we're going to go right back up front because the race up front is getting really close with Miguel Colon and Christian Youngwall. We will make sure you don't miss anything. If there's a pass for the lead there before we get on them, we'll come back to it. We'll stay with Tim here and just kind of watch him finish the lap here. Really solid lap for Tim. This is going to be a 48-second lap time. That's really competitive lap time. 48.240. And so here you go. We'll go in the cockpit here. This is Miguel Colon, and now he's there, Ryan. He's on. He's caught him at this point.
It's on.
It is on. Here they are. Mercedes from Mercedes. Last week's winner. And going up against a CMS champion here. We've talked about this before with Miguel. The competition, the camaraderie, all are phenomenal here at CMS. And to say that you're a champion in a league of this stature means something. At least we'd like to think it does in sim racing. And Miguel is our Porsche Cup champion from 2022 with the iRacing Team Endurance Series support races. And was our champion there, had a phenomenal season, many wins, had several wins last season in this series, finished 2nd in the championship, and this is the most pressure that Christian Youngwall has seen since this season started. Christian has led just about every lap of the series so far in Season 2, Ryan.
Yeah.
Christian was a little faster that last lap. He ran a 46.7 to Miguel's 46.8.
It's a really great battle between Stephen Yanni and JT at the moment.
Yeah, let's go to that as well here. We'll come back to this if we need to. Here's JT. Looks like Stephen Yanni is just behind him. Let's go to Stephen. Let's get on board with Stephen.
They've been trying to work their way through some of the field, but battle each other at the same time.
Yeah, just ahead of them is Mike Tyler and Liam Park, a couple of guys that we know well. That's Mike Tyler, you can see in the purple car. Oh, Steven got really loose there in turn 1. But yeah, if we kind of look at the, that's what we love so much about this series, is there's battles everywhere. You've got Stephen Yanni we see here. This is a last season's champion in the AM category. He's chasing JT Tammy. JT Tammy is chasing Mike Tyler. And, while we're on Mike here, I think worth mentioning, Mike had a really solid run last week. I think he had some issues at the end of the race, not of his own doing, that maybe didn't allow that to be reflected in the final results. But Mike is looking strong. I think you could definitely say improved season over season.
Oh, for sure. We're all getting used to this new, the new tire model, new physics, and Mike is one that's really seemed to get it here this season.
Yeah, he has, and it's interesting to see JT and Mike out here battling each other. I like to tell stories, as you know, and these guys have been sim racing together here probably for the better part of about 15, 20 years. I know I met both Mike and JT early on in the kind of the early days of sim racing, where we were running a lot of Grand Prix Legends and some of the early R Factor stuff. There were some mods that we were doing with some folks that some of you may remember, Kevin and Tom Cinnamon. Tim Collier was involved in a lot of that. Mike Tyler. JT's been around a long time, so is Mike. It looks like JT's going to make the move here. And Mike's smart enough to give it. And Steven's going to try to go through, and Mike wanted no part of that. In fact, I'm wondering here, Ryan, if he just decided let JT go, but I'm going to fight Steven a little bit more because Steven's who he's actually racing here. Actually, he's not. Steven, I wanted to say, is in the AM category, but he has moved into the pro category.
That's right.
Good battle, though, for sure. Oh, looks like somebody's off just behind them. Like that might have been John Reinerchuk. Great battle. This is another, they look so similar, Ryan, but this is a Lamborghini and a Ferrari going around together, if I'm not mistaken here. Yeah. Steven in a Ferrari and Mike in a Lamborghini. We've got another really good battle. Michael Parker and Paul Darling. This is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. They're all over Victor Tanaka now. Look at how close this is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is Tanaka, Parker here in the Audi. And Paul Darling just behind him in the Ferrari. So we've got quite a mix of the manufacturers up front. Have to go back to 7th place to James Gong before we see a Porsche. But just about all of them are represented. I don't know that we have a McLaren in the series. Is the McLaren an allowed car?
You know what? I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't looked at the list in a while.
I know we're getting to where you have to pick and choose because what is it? You can only have 7 or 8 cars and
8. Yep.
Yeah. No change up front. Still about a 4/10 gap. So let's just I know we like to do this, Ryan. Let's pick a few guys we don't normally talk about. I'll just kind of randomly call a few guys out. Let's get on here with about Samuel Scott. Samuel's a driver in 20th position right now. Car number 85, which is the Ferrari. Love this paint scheme. It's got definitely an Italian flair to it, doesn't it? Wouldn't you say?
I would say yes.
Mm-hmm. Looks like he's having a fairly solid run. I'm not really exactly sure where he started the race. May be able to figure that out.
I can tell you.
Samuel just ahead of Liam Park, who we know well.
Samuel Scott started in, I believe, P35.
Okay, so this is a really, really nice run developing here. Up 15 spots from where he qualified. Looking really good here. Kind of watching his lines, using all the track. Like the drive that I'm seeing here. Another driver that I want to talk a little bit about. Had an issue earlier, but has recovered quite well. That's David Slee in 18th position. We haven't talked a whole lot about David this season, or last for that matter, and good to see David out on the track in one of these beautiful Mopar Lamborghinis.
Yep.
With the Mopar color palette.
And Dave has been battling a couple of off-track issues, but he's managed to get back in, and he's kind of redone his sim rig, so I'm glad to see he's been able to get right back into it.
Yeah, I just love David. You know, David is a fellow Canadian, like yourself, Ryan, and
yep.
He's been an admin here at CMS before. He's been a longtime supporter. Just a super level-headed guy. I remember racing a lot of our Historics series, which is one of the longest-running series at CMS. Runs on Sunday evenings, and Dave was a staple of that series for a long time. So great to see him.
That's where I met him.
Yeah, and
he's one of the first people at CMS that I probably considered a friend way back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely, and someone that I certainly think very highly of. Having a solid race, 18th position. We'll pick another one or two here, but before we do that, I just can't help but come back here and check on these two. Ryan, what we're dealing with here now is we're about halfway into this race, and this could be a whoever has the better pit stop wins this race. This is a race where these drivers are so equal. Miguel may be a touch faster than Christian, but not fast enough to pass him out here on the track. We could see this race won or lost on pit road tonight, I think.
Absolutely. And they're going to be coming up on traffic pretty soon, too, so that could throw a wrench in the works.
It absolutely could. And I'm super excited to see how this plays out. I'm also excited to see if they're both on the same pit strategy, if they're on different pit strategies, or is one of them going to try something different than the other? Riding along in this Mercedes with Miguel Colon, boy, it feels like you're sitting down low in this car, doesn't it?
Yes.
Your ass is resting on the firewall, material. That's not the firewall, but the metal or carbon fiber. It's like you're not even sitting in the seat or something.
You just sit on the bottom pan and they put the spray foam around you and call it a day.
Yep. It looks like we've unfortunately had an issue here. We talked about a driver earlier, and I'm going to see if I can give a quick update. I hate to have to do it, but it looks like Mike Tyler has had an issue. That was it there. A big bobble. Slowed way down. Let me see if I can go back to the replay here and see what happened to Mike.
Didn't look like he would have lost time there, but I wonder if he got a slow down afterwards.
Right. While this has been going on, just like he's no harm, no foul there. While this has been going on, Tim Collier and Stephen Yanni have been in and out of the pits already, Ryan. So here's Collier. He's back out now, but has pitted. So these are some of our first cars to get into the pits.
Yeah, it's an interesting early strategy. Still well within the window, but earlier than most.
Yeah, here's Tim now. Actually, what we did is we rewound a little bit, so we're watching Tim come into the pits. And let's cover this stop. Looks like he's up on jack, so he's taking something tire related here. At least 2. Probably 4 tires if he's coming in for 30 minutes worth of fuel. Boy, he wasn't there long.
No.
There long at all. David Slee is now on pit road. So we're seeing some of the drivers who are certainly splitting it in 2, if you will.
Well, yeah, and if you're taking tires, you may just feel like let's get all we can out of the second set of tires rather than taking it 10 minutes from the end.
Right. Looks like we may have had an issue with Larry Ford. Maybe not. This may have just been a pit stop. But I heard some chatter on the radio that had me concerned. So let's make sure Larry got off pit road cleanly. Believe so. stick with this just a little bit more. I rewound a little bit to see kind of if anything happened to Larry. Maybe coming out on cold tires. He seems okay. This is live. Larry having a tough race tonight, back in 33rd position. It's funny how you can go kind of from hero to zero. Larry coming off of a phenomenal run and really fantastic driving at the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring last week. And right now finds himself really ahead, Ryan, of only one driver who's still running, and that's our buddy John Rymacek. Here's John. He's our rookie. Remember John from last week?
Oh, of course I do.
And you know what? I'm looking at John here, and John has picked up the pace quite a bit from where he was last week. He's run a 50.9 tonight, which is, last week I was afraid to talk about his lap times, just out of courtesy. But this week I'd say he's much more competitive. So it seems like he's adjusting to iRacing.
Yep, I know he does have some real-world experience. Can't give you a lot of details on that, but yeah, so he's just in sim racing learning mode at the moment. So well, I think once we're seeing that he is getting up to speed fairly quickly, and once he really gets the hang of it, he'll be quite competitive, I would think.
Yeah, he absolutely is. I'm gonna stick with him here just for a second because we love seeing this driver. You can see him on the standings as we have him highlighted. He's the only driver with the red rookie badge, if you will, in the entire field. So he's brand new to iRacing, brand new to the service, brand new to sim racing.
And hey, I think if you wear that badge in this field with these drivers, that is a badge of honor if you could survive this race.
Absolutely, and to see him out here and fitting in is what makes me smile the most, right? It's not covering what's happening up front so much, but it's covering the stories that make CMS what it is, right? And that's just such a phenomenal community. And so, solid lap there for John. That time by, another competitive lap. To give you an example, and Larry probably won't like me saying this, but he was faster than Larry last lap. Larry's been doing this for a long time, right? And so we got a rookie and a veteran, and John was just slightly faster than Larry last lap. Now Larry's having an off night. But it's great to see. It's great to see that there's a place out here for everybody. It really is.
Absolutely.
Here they are. I'm back on them again. No change. Christian's got ice water running through his veins here, Ryan. As far as staying calm, cool, and collected. With Miguel's just. I mean, he's about as close as you can be.
I don't know if we have any Star Trek fans in the audience, but he's got the tractor beams engaged on this one.
Yeah, he does. I have not seen any light flashing from Miguel. He did give Victor some light flashing, if you remember.
Yes.
But he knows he's just racing Christian here. He may have felt like he was a little faster than Victor. And he was, clearly. These guys have now pulled a 5-6 second lead over that next three. And you can see the next three just behind them coming into view. The three of them, Tanaka, Parker, and Darling, no change there. They are under a blanket themselves, but just a little bit slower than these two behind if we look at lap times. Not by much, but just a tenth or two a lap is what the gap has been.
Yeah, and they're watching Miguel and Christian just pull away ever so slowly, and wishing they could be right up there with them.
Yeah, they sure have. While this is going on, look at this. This is for the lead in the AM class. Joshua Burke is all over Scott Kennedy. So Scott Kennedy, who was so dominant last week, Ryan, Joshua Burke is saying, nope, I'm going to get up on my horse here tonight, and I am going to give it all to you. This is another battle of the same machine. We got Audi for Audi here, and this is a battle for the overall lead in AM category.
And right as you cut to them, netcode was not a factor. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, so wow, we got a great battle going on here. These two drivers have really laid a whipping on the rest of the AM category so far, as the third place driver, Jeffrey Adams, is about 20 seconds behind them. So these two kind of similarly to Cologne and Youngwall are kind of the class of their respective fields. Follow them from the blimp here and just kind of see the phenomenal sights of Hungaroring. You can see the skid pad there. Such a great facility, beautiful part of the world. Look at this chicane. This is a European chicane, if there ever was one, that the drivers are coming through. Feels like the chicane at Monaco there. Not quite as tight, but not far from it. iRacing, of course, does just such a phenomenal job with the laser scans and the attention to detail in these tracks. I was a different discipline, but racing is racing. I was listening to or watching the NASCAR race here in the U.S. Last weekend, and Kevin Harvick, one of the top NASCAR drivers, was really talking about how well iRacing helps with visuals and sight lines and things to look for. The NASCAR Cup Series was running at COTA. And so to have this detail that we get in iRacing is just phenomenal. And it looks like Scott Kennedy has pulled a little bit of a gap here now. Not much, but on Burke. This is the closer of the two battles for the lead. And it has not been further apart than this, folks. Miguel Colon, just 2 or 3 car lengths at most behind Christian Youngwall.
That's probably right where he wants to be at this point. He can still pick his exits and not get hung up.
Right. Looks like we may have had an issue with John Majorbanks. Let's see what's going on here with John. Yep, a spin. Let's hope that this is a safe rejoin. It looks like it is. So just a little bit of damage to his ego there. Doesn't look like any damage to his car. And I tell you what, Ryan, maybe the driver of the race here is Stephen Yanni. We've talked about him a couple of times. Unfortunately, to start the night, it was, for all the wrong reasons, with a penalty and whatnot, and did a car change to the Ferrari. But Christian is the highest of the drivers who have already been to pit road, and he is in 18th position. So I think he might be coming from shotgun last on the field to potentially a top 10 run here after we see the pit stops sort out. He and JT Tammy having a heck of a battle here for this 17th and 18th position overall in the race.
Yeah, that battle's been ongoing for a while now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has. They were racing Mike Tyler. Mike not in the picture anymore because he was had that bobble that we showed a little bit earlier, and Mike has also been to the pits. Mike's dropped back to 25th position. And boy, it is close here now. This is, man, every time I look at the leaderboard, these two are closer and closer. Now about a 0.2 of a second lead last time at the line. Miguel looks impatient at this point. Does Miguel, if you're Miguel here, Ryan, do you consider that he's holding you up and try to undercut him into the pits?
Yeah, if he thinks he's got the pace, because he was, how many laps did that take him to close up that 1.5 or 2 second gap? It
feels
wasn't
like
many.
3 or 4 laps at most, and
there would have been some slipstream in the last, 3/4 of a second or so, but still.
I've got to think he's in the window for being able to pit. We've only got 19 minutes left in the race, and I'm a little bit baffled that he's still out. That it feels like he's the faster of the two cars. Now, by the narrowest of margins, and that's credit to the work that Christian's doing here, but I'm surprised we haven't seen Miguel come in, get his fuel, and see if he can't get out there. Unless he's just kind of feeling like, I want to turn, the car's the lightest it's going to be right now. The tires are still okay. I want to turn as fast a lap times as possible.
Bit of a funny thing for you. Just got a text message from JT, who's driving right now.
Okay.
Asking if he is in fact required to pit or if he could fuel save.
Now that's talent. Here he is in a battle. In a hell of a battle. You can see JT here. And I don't know how you battle the way he's battling with Stephen Yanni and text our team in the booth here. That takes talent, doesn't it?
I would say.
Oh, man. Just when you think you've seen it all with these guys. Just when you think you've seen it all, right? They continue to amaze you. This has been one of our closest battles that we've seen up front for the overall lead in some time. And, Ryan, I'm starting to think this is just going to be just this way till the last lap.
Yeah, they're not showing any signs of letting up.
No, they're not. It's like Paul Darling has moved up to 3rd position. So here's Paul. And that would tell me that Michael Parker may have had some sort of issue. Doesn't look like it. This is Michael behind Paul, so we did see a change there. But you know where I'm seeing an issue? It's with Miguel Colon. All of a sudden, Ryan, he's back in 5th position. Let's see if I can see what happened here. Here it is, going down into 1. Oh, I need to get a different view there. Oh, here we go, Ryan. Let's just rewind this. I don't know if you're seeing it with me here the way I'm seeing it, but Miguel Colon sends it in deep. And I think he makes contact with the back of Youngwall.
It looked like
he
it.
Does.
Yeah.
He comes around. When he comes around, that allows Michael Parker has to Paul Darling, Michael Parker, Victor Tanaka. Oh boy, that was not what Miguel needed. That was not at all what he needed, was it? That's dropped him to 5th position, cost him 7 seconds to Christian.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Let's see if there's any damage on the front of this car. It doesn't look like it. Don't see anything, so it was just minor, but he got into the ABS a little too hard. It came around. Let's take a look at the back of Youngwall's machine. And I don't see any damage here either. It was just I think he just, maybe the tires being older, a little bit of wheel hop maybe going down in there into that. You send it in deep and Boy, I can't help but think, Ryan, I know we've talked about it a couple of times here now, but we're back here with Cologne. I can't help but think that he's got to be kicking himself, thinking, why did I ride behind him so close for so long and not come to the pits?
Yeah, that's just one of those things that, like, as a driver, I'm always thinking about. But, he's got his strategy. He knows how close he can race most of the time. So I don't know. There was another car there. Like, did Youngwall maybe slow a little bit more than he expected in that moment?
Yeah, and by the way, while we were talking about this, we've had a change for the lead. You now see Joshua Burke out in front of Scott Kennedy. So a change for the lead in AM class has happened while all this has been going on. You see the orange Audi now of Burke is now out in front of Kennedy, and just to give you an idea of how talented these guys in the AM category are, that's Drew Lidke ahead of them, one of our top pro drivers in 8th position, and it looks to me like they're applying pressure to Drew.
Yeah, Drew will be driving in his mirrors for the next bit.
Yeah, he sure will. And these guys are racing so hard that they're not going to be able to afford to mess with Drew here. In fact, I think we're going to see Burke go for the move for overall position here. Down into 1 with Lidke. Will Lidke give it to him? Lidke's going to race him hard. Joshua takes it, and I think that's to Joshua's benefit because Scott Kennedy is stuck behind Drew. Even though they're not racing Drew for points, being, the pro versus AM drivers, again, the AM drivers with the 200 numbers that you see, it's still a race for overall position, and the points are shared between the two classes, so everybody in that degree is racing each other. And I think if you've not been to pit road at this point in time yet, that you're not coming except for maybe just splash and go and no tires. And that would be our top 14 drivers in the race. None of them have come to pit road yet. Certainly a really good battle going on here. Back up front overall, we now have Youngwall, who we see has some lap car or a lap car between himself and Victor Tanaka. That's Tanaka in the red and silver machine behind about 2.5 seconds. Tanaka is running faster lap times right now, so that gap has definitely shrunk. There was a point in time where Tanaka, who we go to now, was about 5 or 6 seconds behind. But the whole Miguel Colon issue may have startled them.
Yeah, Victor is hell-bent.
Yeah, let's come back here to our buddy Richard Hibbs. I know that some of his friends and family are watching. Richard having a phenomenal run. 11th position overall. Really looking good here. And I want to take a quick look back. Having another good solid potential for a top 10. He's in 11th right now overall, but a top 10 within class because there are 2 AM drivers ahead of him, which would build upon another really solid run from last week. So Richard had a 9th place in class finish last week, and he's off to another really, really strong event here in Bulgaria. He's got to be happy with this. Oh, and a wreck. That's Scott Kennedy just ahead of him. Look at this, Ryan.
Oh.
I'm going to just go in real time and rewind this. Scott Kennedy, our winner from last week, You know what? He was racing Drew Lidke, trying to get around Lidke the same way that Burke did, and I think he's just Lidke's not having none of it. And it's very similar to the Cologne accident. It gets into him a little bit, oh man. And I believe he may have lost a position. He's going to go ahead and come to pit road, so let's stay with this here. James Gong has also been to pit road, but we're going to stay here with Scott Kennedy, see if I see damage on this car, Ryan.
Yeah, I think, did he tap the wall a little bit, or was it just from the contact?
I think it may have been from the contact. We'll have to go look at the rear of Drew Lidke's car. But you can see the fast repair there. He takes the fast repair, gets the car fixed. We do have one fast repair for all drivers here at CMS, so that won't cost him any time. Let's go look at the rear of Drew Lidke's car. Yeah, Drew's got a little bit of damage on the rear of this thing, too. Not much, but subtle, but I can see it there. And I tell you, just when I think Christian Youngwall's going to run away with this thing up front, I don't know that he is. Victor Tanaka's chasing him down. He's got the gap now to that. You could see Christian just ahead of him, and here's Tanaka. He's got the gap down to 2.5 seconds. Chris Hudson is on pit road from 7th position. We're about due for everybody. I definitely want to make sure that we cover the pit stops of these two leaders. I know you're probably thinking the same.
Yeah, we don't have that long left in the race here, so possible somebody's on a fuel-saving strat here.
Car off there on the left. Yeah, who is that off on the left up there? I think that's Samuel Scott, unfortunately. It sure is. We talked about Samuel earlier. Here he is. Oh, boy. Oh, keep it off the wall. And he does. Okay. Tell you what, the track temp is not much cooler than it was when we started, Ryan. I'm showing 101 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, and that's overcast.
Yeah, so it's slick out there. Youngwall had a really good lap last time by and gained about 2 or 3 tenths on Tanaka. About 3 tenths faster last time by. I've got to think that, to your point, they either need to be coming in now or not at all. And we could see Michael Parker is on pit road from 5th position. There are a few drivers, Billy Massengale, JT Tammy, Peter Hebron, Mike Tyler, have not pitted yet. So I've got to think at least one of these drivers is going to try to make the full race, Ryan.
Well, if anybody can do it, JT can. So he'll be the one to watch for that.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that's what he was texting about, wanting to know if he was forced to make a pit stop. Is that...
He was, yep.
Here he is.
A very well-known fuel-saving expert.
Yeah, and he's got himself now up into 13th position. Here's another driver that we talked about. Bobbled earlier, had an issue, Mike Tyler. Mike has not pitted. Currently in 22nd position, 1 lap down. But if he doesn't have to pit, that might get Mike well inside the top 20. Okay, Christian Youngwall's on pit road, so that answers that question. If I can get to watching his stop. Here he is. This has got to be gas and go. That's Tanaka right behind him. Tanaka is still sitting. Tanaka had a bad pit stop, Ryan.
I wonder what happened there.
And now Paul Darling has taken the lead, so now I think we've got to track this. I think we've got to see, is Paul Darling or Miguel Colon going to be able to stay out? Here's Paul Darling. What's the fuel situation? Like, what are they dealing with tank size this week?
We made a decision back at the start of last season that we wanted to just set a number that would be the same for all tracks. So even though it might, they might be able to squeeze a couple more minutes out of it from one week to the next, we just stuck with 85% across the board. So it's, it should be about one pit stop, but sometimes it's close, and this may be one of those times where a skilled driver can just push that over the edge and not have to come in.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is Paul Darling. We're going to see if Paul comes to the pits this time. It's kind of now or never. There's only 3 minutes left in the race. If you're not coming... I was wondering a little bit about Paul. We're going to learn a lot right here. He's staying out. And Paul Darling was just sort of lurking in about 4th, 5th position. And I felt like I always feel like Paul might be the most talented driver we have. The complete package. I liken him in sim racing to someone like Scott Dixon, who just does everything really well, right? And it was surprising to me that he was in about 5th position, just kind of riding behind Michael Parker and Victor Tanaka, and I'm wondering if maybe that was intentional now, and he was thinking about from the drop of the green flag, which I would pretty much think you needed to do from the beginning, about trying to make this thing without stopping.
Yeah. And about Paul Darling, he races in a different league every Wednesday night, and sometimes he doesn't even make it here before qualifying. So he doesn't, being able to get into the car and get situated and get in that mental space, no, he doesn't get to do that. He's got to just get in it and floor it.
Absolutely. So while this is going on, and we're going to stay with Paul and Miguel Colon, neither one of them have pitted. This is Miguel, about 3 seconds back of Paul. Neither one of them have pitted. The only other 2 cars to have not pitted are JT Tammy, who we know is considering this strategy, and Peter Hebron has not pitted in the race. Mike Tyler, who we talked about earlier, has come to the pits. So we're about to find out here. It's going to get really interesting. We're coming up to 1 minute, 23 seconds, and Paul is going to try to finish this race, Ryan. He's going to try to win this race on pace and fuel mileage. He's going to take the white flag right here. Wow. There's the white flag for Paul Darling.
That's always such a fun way to win a race.
Wow. Yeah, and Miguel Colon has stayed out as well. So either of these 2 drivers has a problem, and Christian Youngwall, who is just now coming down to turn 1, will win this race because he came in for gas. And currently has about a 3-second lead over Tanaka, but we're going to ride here with these 2. I will cover the AM battle, or the AM finish as well. Joshua Burke continuing to lead that battle after the issue we saw with Scott Kennedy. Scott has remained in 2nd place. Tim Collier is now on the podium. So we will try to cover all those drivers as they come to the line here, but we're fascinated. What a story this is going to be if Paul Darling pulls this off. And Ryan, I think he's going to.
Even if he has to get out and push, I think he's got it.
Yeah, here he comes. Just a few more corners now. Miguel Colon trying the same thing. Paul has really let up. He's trying to save the gas. It's okay. He's not going to have anything left for a burnout. And there we go. Look at this. Paul Darling is your winner at Hungaroring. Miguel Colon in second place. Christian Youngwall now coming around the final corner will be in third position as he comes to the flag, being chased by Victor Tanaka. We'll watch them all come through here, folks. This is Christian Youngwall coming to the line. Victor Tanaka just behind him. A little bit further back, coming around the final corner now, is Michael Parker. This is Michael Parker in fifth position to round out the top five. Michael Parker brings it home in fifth. Chris Hudson now coming around the last few corners in a tight battle with James Gong. That's the two of them you see here. Looks like Hudson will hang on for sixth position. James Gong in seventh position. There's Hudson. There's Gong in the Mountain Dew car. And then if we go back a little bit further, getting ready to come around now here is our winner in the AM class, Joshua Burke. Joshua coming to the line. Drew Lidke coming to the line. Richard Hibbs in 10th position overall. JT Tammy, he's going to do it, Ryan. Here he comes. No pit stop. 11th position. JT Tammy makes it without a stop. John Majorbanks behind him. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. Here comes Scott Kennedy. He's across the line. Stephen Yanni goes all the way to 14th. And how about Tim Collier? We'll stop here to round out the top 15. Fantastic job by Tim, and on the podium tonight. What a race. Good Lord.
Nicely, really nicely done by Tim and by everyone. This was, I mean, as always, but especially with the fuel-saving strategies here, such an exciting finish.
Such an exciting finish. I absolutely loved it. And you and I were, people could probably hear it in our voices. Paul Darling pulled a fast one on us all. And it wasn't just he thinking that. We know JT Tammy, Miguel Colon had the same idea. Neither of them pitted. And Peter Hebron also. We had 4 drivers make it without a pit stop. And that benefited all 4 of them. Paul Darling with the win, Miguel Colon in second, JT Tammy used that to overcome that early spin. Remember, he went all the way back to last place, Ryan, with the spin on lap 1. And then Peter Hebron, albeit 1 lap down, had a 23rd place finish after starting much further back from that. So that was fantastic. Terrific. Let's bring in Joshua Burke and see if he'll talk to us. He's our winner in the AM class. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. I'll let you give him a second. He might be getting a drink of water or something.
There he is. Joshua, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you guys.
Hey, Joshua, congrats on the win. That looked really good.
Thanks, guys.
Tell us about your race, how it started, how it ended.
Oh, it was great. I got a good start, gained a couple positions on the first lap, and then I was thrown into, it felt like a 25-lap battle with Drew and Scott. And Scott's in my class. Man, that was a great race. That's tough. It's a track that's very, very heavy on tire wear, tire temps, and then to boot, we had a hotter track. So
yes, we did.
It was a great race.
I noticed that I was David and I were both wondering why cars were sliding around so much, and then I looked and the track had warmed up about 20 degrees in the space of 20 minutes.
Yeah, it got really tough there, especially in the last 10 or so laps. And you could tell guys who spent the first part of the race trying to conserve some tire left for the end of the race, and it did make the pass on Drew and Scott easier there on the end. But it was just a good race overall.
Well, yeah, we saw some of your battle with Scott and Drew, and you guys were just going at it. It was really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it was great. Good, clean racing. That's what I like about this league.
Yeah,
All right.
well, Josh, we love having you here. Congrats on the win tonight. Go celebrate it. Really, really solid run. Builds upon what you did at Sebring, and you're off to a super fast start this season. We hope to get to talk to you on more than one occasion.
Me too. Me too. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening. All right, let's see if we can get one more interview in here. We'll bring Paul Darling in, and I think we'll have to stop at 1 tonight, Ryan, because yours truly has something he's got to do here in a little bit to help the daughters. So that always takes precedence, right? But let's bring Paul in here and see if Paul can. He's outsmarted us all. I'll ask him about it here if we get him in. Paul, do you have a copy?
Yep, I got you. Can you hear me?
We sure do. Wow, you pulled a fast one on all of us, Ryan and myself. We have to ask you, did you plan that from the drop of the green flag to make it without a pit stop?
I did not actually. I knew it was close, but from what I could tell, I didn't think I actually calculated one lap more than we actually ran, so I didn't think it was feasible. But once I botched my qualifying and I was at the back like that, then it's like, well, let's just see how far this goes. And then the numbers just kept getting better, and I was like, okay, I think this might work.
Yeah,
and it did.
It did, and they were having a heck of a battle up in front of you guys between Miguel Colon and Christian Youngwall, and they had a little bit of contact. Miguel made a mistake. It kind of let all of you right back in at that 3, 4, 5 position. And then we looked up with a few minutes to go, and I think, Ryan, it was you that said, I don't know if he's going to pit.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed with Miguel. Miguel ran the better race overall, excluding his one mistake. He had insane pace for how much he was saving to pull that one off, so kudos to him for that.
Yeah, he did. He had a great race. There were 4 of you that did not pit from our calculations, and all 4 of you benefited from it in the end.
There were 4.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was yourself and Miguel. Neither of you pitted. JT Tammy.
Of course.
Yep, he ended up in 11th place. And JT, you probably haven't seen it yet, but he had a first lap solo spin, went to the rear of the field, had to let the entire field literally pass, but then with that strategy and just running a solid race, got back up to 11th place. And then Peter Hebron was the 4th. Peter pulled off a top 25 finish as well. So kudos to all 4 of you for making that work.
Yeah, nice job, Pete. Well, thank you very much for the broadcast, guys.
You're welcome. Anything you want to say? We're just excited to talk to you here. I think this is your first win in this series, between the season 1 and season 2. Just super excited to have you here.
Yeah, I was only able to make the 2 races last season because of work, but it's good to see the fields we're having and good to run with you guys again. Back to my roots.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ryan.
Glad to have you back with us, Paul, racing a little bit more. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Hope to see you with us here in the broadcast booth again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Okay. You too, Paul.
Have a great night.
Yeah, Ryan, wow, what a race. Well, what do we have next? I've been so busy here with this one, I haven't had a chance to think about what's next.
Yep. Next week we have the one, the only, Barcelona.
That is always a fun track. That is always a really fun track. It's one that I used to not like very much, but once you kind of learn it, it drives well and it's fun. That should be another tremendous race. I can't wait to hopefully bring it to everybody, and I know you're excited about it too.
Yep, definitely. That'll be a good one. It's always that always seems to be a sort of a staple of our lineup. Not every season, but maybe every 2-3 seasons you'll see it because it's just that good.
It really is. And, it was really encouraging tonight to see such a mix of the manufacturers as well. I think the balance of performance is really solid. We had 2 Lamborghinis on the podium as well as a Ferrari. We had, the Ford ran well. The Mercedes did well. It was just a solid run overall for everyone tonight. And the series just couldn't be better right now. I think you and I are the luckiest too because we get to watch it all unfold.
Yeah. Yeah, we see all the good stuff.
Yeah, we do. Well, to everyone out there, thanks for watching us. We're going to go ahead and wrap up for the night. On behalf of Ryan, this is Dave Anderson. Want to thank you all for supporting us. We also could not make this possible without our sponsorship from simrace247.com. Please go give Darren and his team a look there. Bookmark the site. You'll be able to read recaps from these races there, as well as a plethora of other great news on iRacing and all sorts of tremendous articles and whatnot. Also, a special thanks to all of our members that help put this on, and a little bit of a couple of announcements of things that are upcoming. You heard Ryan say next week we'll be at Barcelona in this series. Ryan and I hope to be back, God willing, on the broadcast here for you all. And then also a little bit later, in a few weeks from now, we're going to be back in the iRacing Team Endurance Series mode, as we will go to Fuji for round 2 of the iRacing Team Endurance Series on April 30th. We're super excited about that race. And the week before, on April 23rd, Sunday, we will have the Porsche Cup Series at Fuji as well. So lots going on with iRacing. That is not even talking about some of the phenomenal special events that we have with our Champion Motorsports Endurance team. I know that we're starting to plan and organize for the 24 hours of Nürburgring. We'd love to get drivers to join us. Everybody's welcome, from rookies to pros. As long as you are our kind of person, we want you here with us on the track. So until next time, we'll sign off for now. We enjoyed bringing it to you. And Ryan, another fun one.
Yep, definitely. Good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.